breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, William Boor, does such great work over at Action Network. We're going to chat with him about what we've seen here in the first month of the season, some of the good surprises, obviously the bad surprises, looking at you, the New York Mets, looking at you, the Philadelphia Phillies, and also some of the American League teams that have underwhelmed as well. And then we'll break down a few games for Wednesday in the final segment. Going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, the mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, we had ourselves a fun day of baseball on Tuesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better. The league's best record belongs to the Atlanta Braves, and they get the job done once again. 5-2, they're able to take down the Detroit Tigers. Martin Perez continues a solid start to the season. 5 scoreless innings. He did walk 4, but was able to keep things clean. DDA Fuentes, 2 scoreless innings. Tyler Kinley, a scoreless inning. Aaron Bummer was a bummer. He does give up 2 runs in his inning as Wencio Perez. He gets his second home run of the season, but by then things were decided, and for Casey Mize was forced to leave this game early due to injury. 2 1/3 innings, gives up 2 runs along the way. Brian Herter in long relief, 2 2/3 innings scoreless. Birch Smith, 1 run allowed in 2 innings. Tyler Holton from there does give up 2 runs in an inning as Ozzie, Albies, his 6th home run in the campaign. So the Braves, they keep things rolling. A nice big win for them. And the Cincinnati Reds, they're 19-10, 7-2. They take down the Colorado Rockies. For Kyle Freeland, he makes his first start off the injured list and got roughed up. 4 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. He was taken deep by Spencer Steer, 5th home run of the season. Then Ellie De La Cruz, 10th home run of the season. That comes off of Tanner Gordon, who gives up 3 runs in 3 innings. Chase Burns was not chased early in this game. 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. Did give up a home run to Edouard Julien, 2nd home run of the season, but Graham Ashcraft, Tony Santillan, Brock and Rolberg, they're all able to end a scoreless inning to be able to get that one to the window. For the Cardinals, they get to the window 11-7. They take down the Pittsburgh Pirates, and every team in the NL Central, at least 2 games above 500 right now. For the Pirates, they did have the Powerball working. Ryan O'Hearn, 5th home run season off of Kyle Leahy. Leahy gives one up to Oniel Cruz, 9th home run season. Then Matt Savanson will give one up to Colin Griffin, who's had some struggles, but 2nd home run season. Savanson gives up that home run in his inning work. Leahy gives up those 2 home runs, 3 runs in total in 5 1/3 innings. Gordon Gassefo, though, 5 outside the bullpen squirrels. Justin Brill, they give up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in an inning, but Braxton Ashcraft was a load of Ashcraft. 6 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. He was taken deep twice in this one, taking him deep. Yeah, Nolan Gorman get his 4th home run season, and Victor Scott, great Scott, he gets his 1st home run season. Then Hunter Barco saved the bullpen, but yeah, he did not pitch well in this game. 5 runs allowed over the course of 4 2/3 innings. Hey, the Mets, they won a game. Their 3rd win in their last 18 games, 8-0. They shut out the Washington Nationals. Finally for the Mets, a little bit of offensive production. Clay Holmes, 6 shutout innings in this one. Tobias Myers, 2 scoreless innings. Craig Kimbrell, 8 scoreless innings, and Zach Littell continues to be a human pinata. 8 runs, 4 of which were earned, given up in 3 2/3 innings. Taken deep by Juan Soto, 2nd home run season. Bo Bichette, his 2nd. From there, the bullpen was not bad. Andre Granillo, 2 scoreless innings. Brad Lord, oh Lord, he was able to give you 2 1/3 innings scoreless, but damage by then had very much been done. The Blue Jays have been a little bit shaky, but they take it to the Red Sox 3-0, the final. First loss ever since the firing of Alex Coran. The pitching wasn't bad in this one. Peyton Tolley was out long for this game, 4 2/3 innings, gives up 3 runs, but from there, Zach Kelly, a scoreless inning. You had Tyler Simonazio give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Ryan Watson, 1 2/3 innings scoreless, but boy, the Blue Jays have needed some of these arms to come off the injury list, and Trey Savage delivered 5 1/3 innings scoreless. Mason Fluharty, a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Jeff Hoffman, Tyler Rogers, Louis Varlin. They're all able to end 8 scoreless inning. The Philadelphia Phillies, they got their 2nd win in their last 12 games, 7-0. They're able to take down the San Francisco Giants, and things not great for the Giants either. Tyler Mully, he gives up 5 runs over the course of 5 innings. From there, Blade Tidwell gives up 2 runs in 2 innings. Matt Gage, he was able to give you a scoreless inning, and Jesus Luzardo has been one of the most unlucky pitchers I've ever seen. 7 scoreless innings. He gets online here. Orion Kirkering, Tim Mesa, they were both able to end a scoreless inning. for the Baltimore Orioles, they were able to get themselves a 5-3 win over the Houston Astros. For the Astros, Kai Tang, not long as a starter, 2 runs allowed over the course of 3 innings. Steven Okert in out of the bullpen squirrels. Ryan Wise is a long guy, 3 2/3 innings. He gives up 3 runs, all of which were earned, including a home run to Pete Alonso, 4th home run season. Bennett Sosa from there, a squirrel setting to lower his ERA to 13.50, and the Wizard of Boz, he was able to give them a nice start. 1 solo home run allowed over the course of 5 2/3 innings. He was taken deep by Bryce Matthews. For Matthews, his 2nd home run in the campaign. From there, you had Uncle Rico Garcia give you an out of the bullpen squirrels. You had Ryan Elsley, Andrew Kittredge, both lined a squirrel setting. Anthony Nunez, he does give up 2 runs over the course of his inning of work, but the Orioles, they find a way to the window, and they get the job done there. Also being able to get the job done, the Tampa Bay Rays, who say hip hip hoorays to an 18-11 start. 1-0, they're able to take down the Cleveland Guardians. Tanner Bybee did a fine job in this start. He gives up 1 run over the course of 5 innings. From there, Tim Herron, Connor Brogdon, 3 scoreless innings between the 2 of them. Peyton Palante, a scoreless inning, but for the Guardians, they leave 8 men on base. They get nothing going off of Nick Martinez, who had 7 shutout innings. Ian Seymour, Kevin Kelly from there pitch a scoreless 8th inning. Cole Sulzer, a scoreless inning. So the Rays, they continue to be able to get the job done. Guardians back below 500 at 15-16. Merrill Kelly is currently looking quite washed as he got banged around, and so did the Arizona Diamondbacks. 13-2, the Brewers are able to get the job done here for Kelly. Gives up 5 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a home run. Going deep off of him, it was home run numero 2 of the season for Sal Frelick. At the very least, he wasn't Andrew Hoffman, who I believe that he was rocking a sub-2 ERA coming into this one, and it's not sub-2 anymore. It's down 8.49. He got 1 out, and he gave up 8 runs, all of which were earned. From there, James McCann, position player, a scoreless inning. Taylor Clark, a scoreless inning. Pair of outs out of the bullpen from Ryan Thompson, scoreless. And Chad Patrick was on it in this one. He did walk 5, but 1 hit, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Jake Woodford, 3 scoreless innings, and Shane Drone was able to come in there for a scoreless inning as well. He had the Cubs go on the road, and they got the job done. This by a count of 8-3 over the Slam Diego Padres. As for the Padres, you got a relatively okay start out of Walker Buehler, 2 runs allowed over the course of 4 2/3 innings, not a ton of length. From there, Kyle Hart, he gives up 2 runs over the course of 2/3 of an inning. A bullpen for the Padres that had been rock solid prior to Mexico City, not looking great. Wandy Peralta, 3 runs allowed in his inning of work. Pete Armstrong took a beef, 2nd home run in the campaign. David Morgan, run given up in 2/3 of an inning. Ron Marinaccio, 2 scoreless innings, and then Edwin Cabrera gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 2/3 innings. Taken deep by Xander Bogaerts, resurgent year from 5th home run of the campaign. Obi Milner, 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Ryan Rollison, 2 scoreless innings. LA Dodgers fall at home to the Miami Marlins, 2-1. The final is for Jansen Junk. He did not live up to his name. 6 shutout innings in this one. From there, Anthony Bender, a scoreless inning. Michael Peterson, great name. Not great that he gave up a run in a 3rd inning, but John King was the king of giving me a pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Tyler Phillips, a scoreless inning. Shohei Ohtani was solid. 9 punch-outs, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, given up in 6 innings. Now, that came on his own error, so that was on him. But that said, you had from there Tanner Scott, Blake Tryon, Jack Dreyer. I'll give you a scoreless inning, but the Dodgers averaging more than a full run half per game less at home rather than away from home. So that's been curious. And for the Sacramento A's, their 2nd under at home of the season. The Kansas City Royals in 10 innings, they win by a count of 4-1. Chris with K. Bubich, a nice start here. 1 run allowed in 5 innings. John Schreiber, Daniel Lynch, Matt Strom, Nick Mears, all end a scoreless inning. Lucas Ursic gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning, but by then damage had been done, and Aaron Savali, good start here. 5 scoreless innings, no runs allowed. From there, Hogan Harris was not a hero. Gives up a solo home run as he was taken deep by Salvador Perez. 5th home run in the campaign. Scott Barlow from there. 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Mark Lader Jr., Jack Perkins lined a scoreless inning, and then Justin Cerner. In the 10th inning, 3 runs, 2 of which weren't taken deep by Bob Hewitt Jr. 2nd home run in the campaign. 2nd home run in his last 3 games to be able to get the job done out there for the Seattle Mariners. They get the job done. 7-1. They're able to take down the Minnesota Twins. Joe Ryan, solid start. 2 runs allowed in 6 innings, and then the bullpen was not solid as Cole Sands, he gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning, taken deep by Josh Naylor. 4th home run in the campaign. Cody Funderburk, 1 run allowed in 1 1/3 innings. Luis Garcia, he comes in and he gives up a pair of runs of his own over the course of an inning. And for Logan Gilbert, he lent a nice start. 1 run allowed over the course of 5 innings, taken deep by Byron Buxton. 7th home run season. Lone run the Twins will get as Edward Bizzardo, Gabe Spire, Matt Brash, Cooper Griswold, they're all able in a scoreless inning and being able to lend themselves a win. How about the Chicago White Sox? 5-2, they take down the the LA Angels, as Angels were looking like they were off to a nice start to the season, then things toiled both. Jose Soriano had given up 1 run in his 6 starts prior to this start, gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings at a pair of bombs, as taken deep by Colson Montgomery, 8th home run of the campaign, and then it was home runs number 1 and 2 for Drew Romeo. Oh, Romeo, he was able to have himself a nice night, as he also went deep off Brent Suter, who gives up that home run in his inning work. Joey Lucchesi, a run given up in a third of an inning. Jose Fermin, 1 2/3 inning scoreless, and then Davis Martin, 1 run allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Sean Newcomb, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Jordan Leisure, who leisurely gives up a home run to Josh Lowe, his 4th home run of the season, but Sir Anthony Dominguez, scoreless inning, he's able to produce a save, and being able to produce a win, the New York Yankees, they get the job done against the Walker Texas Rangers 3-2 the final. Jacob deGrom, how familiar does this sound? He takes the loss because he got no run support. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. Jalen Beeks, he would give up a solo home run to Mr. Austin Wells. He hits at Wells for his 3rd home run in the campaign. Jacob Junis, a scoreless inning. Cole Winn, solo home run, give it up to Aaron Judge, 12th home run season, and Cam Schlittler continues to be great. 6 scoreless innings. Brent Hendrick, Fernando Cruz, both on his scoreless inning. David Benhar almost poops at Benhar, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, given up in the 9th inning. He was hurt by a Ryan McMahon error, but still, team was able to find a way to persevere, get the job done there. And if you're taking a look at what we're all getting in terms of Major League Baseball right now, it has been very much an overwhelming season and an overwhelming last 7 days, even though it was a little bit more spread out with regards to the overs and unders. 45 overs to 42 unders over the last 7 days, and if I'm not mistaken, we've had 4 pushes along the way, so 51.7% hit rate to the over. Favorites, they are cleaning house right now, 57-32 on the money line over the last 7 days, and overall for the season, favorites are finally above 56% with their hit rate, 244 and 191 on the money line. 44 of those favorites, by the way, have failed to cover the run line. Meanwhile, the over rate, 53.1%, 229 overs to 202 under. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with one of our good friends, William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got William Boor aboard. He does such great work over at Action Network on so many different fronts. He's your main deputy editor over there, so he's in charge of so many different things. Did a great job when we had the NFL draft last week. He's doing a tremendous job all 12 months out of the year looking at this great sport of baseball. You name it, he does it. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at the letter W. Last name Boor, Boor, all together. And William, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Pleasure's mine, Greg. Always happy to hop on, talk baseball, talk betting with you.
Absolutely. And William, we're now through about a month of the season, and how do we take a look at the 2 big disappointments in baseball, and the Phillies and the Mets, where, I mean, typically you don't want to overreact to 1 month of the season, but it's hard to unsee what we've seen out of these 2 teams thus far.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you don't want to overreact because they have played 30 games and they have 130 games to go. But based on what we've seen, I don't know if that's encouraging or not. You obviously okay, we got 130 games, get this right. Or, oh God, there's 130 more games of this. I mean, both teams 1-9, 2-8 over their past 10. And the crazy thing is you look at these rosters and you're like, he's good, he's got talent, he's got potential. There's not some of the bad teams of the past, like the White Sox a couple of years ago, the Rockies, the A's 2-3 years ago, whatever, where you look at them and you see lack of talent. I mean, we're talking about, I know there's been injuries and stuff, but we're talking about teams with Juan Soto, with Bryce Harper, with Kyle Schwarber. There are big names on these teams, and it's just not working, and it's weird.
Yeah, it really is. And man, it has been a struggle for them, to say the least. And out of those 2 teams, maybe the answer is none, but is there one of them where you feel like, man, there's a little bit of upside here? I really feel like one of them can, I'm not even going to say play their way back into playoff contention, but play them back to respectability.
I mean, I guess over the 2, I would favor the Phillies, and maybe that's just a little bit of, postseason track record, a couple more of the veterans on the team. But I'm going to need to see something from both these teams before I, fully buy into any of them.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Man, this has been rough, to say the least, as William Boor does such great work over at Action Network, is joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And the beneficiaries of everything that we've seen with those teams. We've had a lot of disappointments out there in the American League that nobody's paying attention to because the Phillies and the Mets have done a great job in terms of grabbing the headlines. And how do you take a look at some of those teams? Like, it feels like the Tigers are starting to get online, but it's been a little bit rough for them. Obviously, the Red Sox with firing their managers and then hauling them away in a van that says coaches for hire. That was one of the good chuckles of the year. That was interesting to say the least. The Royals, no question. I wasn't necessarily bullish on them, but wasn't expecting this. How do you take a look at the fact that we've got just a lot of disappointments out there in the American League too?
It's weird. I think I wouldn't have expected the Astros to be last in the AL West. I almost just said Angels while saying that sentence. It's been weird. And I think maybe this is part of it being early and there still being 130 something games left. But like you said, I thought the AL East would be tighter. And I mean, it still is tight at the top with the top two teams, but we didn't necessarily expect the Red Sox to be this bad. Toronto is kind of underperforming as well, but like they're getting overshadowed by the Red Sox, even though they both had 12 wins at the time we're recording this. It's been weird. Like you said, the Tigers slow start, but they're starting to pick it up a little bit, and they're kind of lucking out with them being in the AL Central. But I think we knew that beforehand that division was kind of going to be a bunch of mediocre plus teams with no one really running away from it. It's just been a weird year, but I think we've got a lot to go. I think we're starting to see, like we mentioned, Tigers are starting to play better. The Yankees are starting to play better, over the past 2 weeks, really starting to rack up some wins back to the NL. The Braves are starting to rack up some wins and become who we thought they were. So I think we are getting there. I think the next, we're a month in, and I think month number 2 will probably be a time that we start to really find out who some of these teams are.
Yep, absolutely. And I know that I've talked a lot about the negatives, but is there a team that maybe it's been an up and down start to the season for them? Maybe it's been a good start to the season for them, but you're right now finding some value and you really feel like they're starting to play some good baseball right now.
I just mentioned the Yankees and the Braves. They're both starting to kind of separate and become we thought they were going to be. And if we want to stick in that AL East, like Tampa Bay's been impressive. I'm not sure. I think they can kind of stick around all year. I don't think they have the star power or the firepower to maybe compete with the Yankees. I'm not sure that, they would be my pick to win the division, but on a day-to-day basis, they can certainly rack up some wins. I expect them to be playing meaningful games in September.
Yep, I think so as well. As William Boor does such great work over at Action Network. He's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, and no doubt about it, we've got some fun that is going to be going down on Wednesday as well. And I know you, much like myself, have loved what we've seen out of Logan Webb last years, but it's been a down season for him, just like the team that he's playing against the Philadelphia Phillies, man. It's been a down year for them. The lone bright spot for the Phillies, though, has been Christopher Sanchez, who takes a bump here. Minus 135, minus 140 favorites are the Phillies here, total of 7. How do you look at this? Because if Logan Webb was at home, I actually feel like I'd be more than willing to back him here. I just have always noticed that he struggled away from home, and we talk about the Phillies struggles. It doesn't feel like it's been a whole heck of a lot better for the Giants themselves, though.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Phillies, obviously, they're not playing great, right? They're 10 games under 500. You don't fire your manager when you're playing great. That said, Sanchez is throwing the ball well, and he's facing an offense that has struggled to put up runs. You have that, and then you have that against a Phillies team at home, hitter's ballpark for their offense. We have Logan Webb, who's not as good on the road, who has struggled on the road. And I think if you can get a good price here, this has to be a Phillies play. But if you tell me you want to pass on this game because you don't trust the Phillies, I'm sure as heck not going to argue with that.
Yeah, it's been tough to trust the Phillies, to say the least. And with regards to Giants, it's been hard to trust in their offense as well. That's why you're seeing a super low total of 7, even though the Phillies typically have some good offensive production. And one of the early season surprises that seem to be coming back down to earth is the Minnesota Twins. They're facing one of those disappointments that we've been talking about in the American League, the Seattle Mariners. Right now, the Mariners minus 125, minus 130, with it being George Kirby against Taj Bradley. Want to get your thoughts here because Bradley has looked like that guy that he was in his rookie year against the Rays. He's put together a nice season. I don't know if the Twins' offense is a mainstay, and for the Mariners, they've just really had struggles on the road scoring.
Yeah, the Mariners have been kind of disappointing, and maybe this is me just not wanting to give up on my future or not want to give up on the Mariners quite yet, but I'm going to be on Seattle in this game. I know Bradley is throwing well, But if you look a little deeper, 2.91 ERA, 4.25 xERA, getting a little bit lucky early. I realize we're on a small sample size with all the starters, but there might be a little bit of regression there that can be tapped into. I really do like George Kirby. And I think, if you're still baking in some preseason priors into your numbers, like we all thought the Mariners would be a good team. So I'm kind of just hoping that talent shows up at some point.
And I'm so glad that you broke it down that way, because now we do have about a full month of a data set to be able to work with. When do you really make that turn from like the 2025 and prior numbers into 2026? And are you sort of at like a hybrid period right now?
Right now, a hybrid period. And it depends kind of what we're talking about. If we're talking about a team as a whole or just looking like a team's bullpen or something, right now I'm probably about 65, 70% 2026. If we're talking about a pitcher, like just a starting pitcher, it's a little bit different because, yes, we're at a month, but we're at like 4 starts or 5 starts or something. So they're probably a little bit closer to 50-50.
Yep, I think that's so well said, because with the starters, you have a less of a sample size in 30 full games for a lot of these hitters. So I agree with you there, and that one's going to be an interesting one. And then in the National League, we've got ourselves some fun games that are going to be going down as well, because with the Milwaukee Brewers, they've been a team that's just been very sporadic this year. They've had a lot of injuries, but yet they've been able to keep the offense going. But Brandon Sproat has not been good for them. Right now, he's a -115 to -120 favorite against Eduardo Rodriguez and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Want to get your thoughts here, because for Rodriguez, if you look at the raw ERA, it looks like it's been a renaissance year. If you look at more of the advanced numbers, the walks rate, what have you, I think he's doing for a lot of regression, and I think that we could be getting a spot here where we're going to get a lot of runs.
This is funny. You just grabbed my 2 favorite bets of the day, which were the Mariners money line and the D-backs money line. Rodriguez, you're totally right on the regression front. He's given up 4 runs in each of his past 2 starts. That's not usually someone I want to back. But I think what you just said about a lot of runs, to me, this is D-backs are over. I think Rodriguez hasn't looked great, but I do think he can be better. And that's kind of what we were just talking about, where you're kind of factoring in some of the past. Also, the Diamondbacks offense is averaging 6 runs per game over his past 10. Yes, they did have the couple games in Mexico, so that's inflated a little bit. But even if you want to take, 2 runs off of that, which is, a massive adjustment, that'd still be 4 runs per game over the past 10. And that's something I would take as well. So I like the Diamondbacks in this spot. Definitely if it's at plus money, but I'm definitely not expecting them to win this game 2-1 or anything like that.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I do think that this is going to be a high-scoring game, so that one's going to be a lot of fun, and one of the more pleasant surprises of the year, because we've talked a lot about the negative. The Tampa Bay Rays have been a nice positive. They're right now towards the top of the American League. Right now, they're about even money against the Cleveland Guardians with the Drew Rasmussen, Gavin Williams, total of about 6.5. Is there anything that you might be looking for here, and do you think that the Tampa Bay Rays might be a mainstay in this American League this year?
Yeah, the Rays are playing really well. They're really impressive so far. And then on the other end, especially Rasmussen's throwing well. Cleveland, again, like story of the past, decade or so, can't hit. Chase DeLauder, really strong start. RBI double the other night. Like he's really good. I'm excited for his future. But just that team as a whole is struggling to put up runs. So they're just going to be hard to back on certain games, because I feel like if they give up 2 or 3, they're cooked.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's been a case where with the Guardians, the hitting has not necessarily been there. They've relied upon bullpen pitching, and even the bullpen pitching has been a little bit shaky for them this season. And is there anything else that you might be looking at on the board for Wednesday? Because I know that we already mentioned some of the favorite plays that you have there, but that said, is there anything else that you might be looking at, / maybe not even betting, but you just want to kick back and just watch a game in general?
Yeah, I think Skubal versus the Braves will probably be interesting just to see how he handles that lineup. And then kind of conversely on the same note is like Alcantara versus the Dodgers. Might make some sort of fun, team total parlay, like Dodgers first 5 under and Braves first 5 under or something like that. I'll play around with the books in the morning and see if I want to get creative. But I think just anytime those 2 pitchers, Sandy Alcantara and Tarik Skubal, are on the mound, it's definitely worth tuning into.
Yep, it certainly is, and it's always worth tuning into you, my friend, because you're doing such a great job over at Action Network on so many different fronts, whether that be football, baseball, we name it, you do it, and every single time you join me, I know that you lend such great insights, so let the good people at home know what's on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
course, you can find me on Twitter at WBoor, WBOOR, and in the Action Network app at William Boor _, all one word. Definitely download the app. Definitely go to our website, actionnetwork.com. Not only are my picks there, but all of my very smart colleagues are there. We've got stuff for the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, pretty much every baseball game every day. This weekend, we're going to have Kentucky Derby picks. So if there's something that you can bet, we've probably got it covered for you.
Yep, and with William, he does such a great job on so many different fronts every single time he joins me, lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to William for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by William Boor. He does such great work over at Action Network, looking at this great sport of baseball. He's doing a great job on so many different fronts, whether that be the NFL, whether that be baseball, you name it, he does it. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. Did so once again today, so a big thanks to William for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Wednesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, and the Interleague games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So, but if we get things started, this is 9-1, 9-2 on the card. The Marlins are on the road against the LA Dodgers. Tyler Glasnow goes for the Dodgers. Sandy Alcantara goes for the Marlins, and the Marlins who find themselves between plus 170 to plus 175 underdogs, minus 205 to minus 210 is that number on Los Angeles. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8.5. Under is minus 120, and the over is even on the 8. The over is minus 120, under is even. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Dodgers, between even money to plus 105 is what you're going to be finding there. And with regards to the run line, if I can get about a plus 105 or better, I am going to be in on the Dodgers on the run line. I do need that plus money, but willing to go plus 105 or better. With Sandy Alcantara, he has been highly effective this season. He is looking like the guy that was really able to carry the Marlins a few seasons ago. Maybe not back to Cy Young form, but still, he's been good. 3.05 ERA, 41 and a third innings through his 6 starts. That leads the National League. He's not getting a ton of strikeouts. 5.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's a career low, but he's giving up less than a home run per 9 innings. And now he does have to face off against a Dodgers team that is currently second in the league in terms of run creation, but they're averaging more around about 6.5 runs per game away from home compared to about 5 runs per game at home. So I do think that that's something that you want to be noting for the LA Dodgers, no doubt about it. This is one of the best lineups that money can buy. Max Muncy, 9 home runs, about a 400 on base. Doan rushing 7 home runs at his first 39 at bats going into yesterday. So that's been huge because they've dealt with a few injuries with the likes of Mookie Betts and company, deal with a few ailments, but Betts was never really himself since the back half of the 2025 season, so not too impactful there. And then you've got Kyle Tucker, who's been a little bit of a disappointment. You know that he's going to be able to find it sooner rather than later. And for the Miami Marlins, this is not really a power hitting team aside from Liam Hicks, who's gotten off to a nice start to the season. He's been able to give you 6 home runs. He's hitting above 3 and then Xavier Edwards, he moves the line, 435 on base. Again, not much of a power hitter. As a matter of fact, for the Marlins, 21 home runs in their first 29 games going into yesterday. And Jacob Marcy, while he only hits a 191, he does have 10 stolen bases. So every time he's gotten on, he's been able to swipe bags. Owen Casey, he's had a little bit of regression. He's giving you less than a 275 on base right now, but Javier Sanchez has been able to above a 300. And for the Marlins, after a little bit of a shaky start to the season for the bullpen, they're back in the top 10 in terms of ERA, so that's encouraging. Now, Pete Fairbanks has not been great in this bullpen, but Michael Peterson, great name, John King, Tyler Phillips, these are all guys giving you an ERA of a 3 or better. Lake Bakar, long guy's been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Shouldn't need him in this spot, though. Calvin Fauché, Anthony Bender, they do need to find it a little bit more. And for the Dodgers, but a little bit hot and cold with the bullpen, but Jack Dreher, Alex Vesia had a sub 325 ERA last year. Tanner Scott spot. He had a rough year last year, but he's one of the better relievers in all of baseball a few seasons ago. Looks like he's getting back to that form, and they need it with Edwin Diaz currently being on the injury list. But I think that you're going to get a nice pitcher's duel here because Tyler Glass now, he's gotten off to a nice start to the season. Down a little bit with his strikeout stuff, 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 2.45 ERA, 2.25 fielding dependent, 0.5 home runs, 1.9 walks allowed per 9 innings. So I think that you get a lower scoring game. Somebody told 7.7, like the under, and with the Dodgers plus 105 or better, going to be looking at that run line. 903, 904 on the betting board. It's the Cubs. They're going to be on the road against the San Diego Padres. Matt Waldron is on the bump for the Pods, and James Taillon goes for the Cubs. And the Cubs are a very slim favorite / a very slim underdog, anywhere between minus 104 to a minus 111 with the Padres, anywhere between about minus 105 to a minus 112 with a total of 9. Over is minus 115, the under is minus 105. I did set the Padres here at a minus 102. So whichever team becomes the underdog, I'm going to be looking at them on the money line. Right now, we've got a rather pick 'em line. So again, whatever team becomes the underdog, that's what I'm going to be riding with. And I do like this total to the under. I recognize that both of these starters have been less than great to begin the season. Now, James Taillon, he doesn't necessarily have the world's lowest ERA, but you'll look at the advanced numbers, and he has had some struggles thus far this season. 4.55 ERA, 6.03 fielding dependent, 2.3 home runs, 3.9 walks allowed per 9 innings, and for our good friend, Mr. Matt Waldron, he's allowed 2 home runs and 12 total runs in 8 2/3 innings across his 2 starts thus far this season. An ERA above a 12. We're starting to see the Cubs have a really, really just interesting lineup, to say the least, because the catchers have all been amazing for this team. Moises Ballesteros is giving you over a 400 on base. You've been able to get a lot of production out of Carson Kelly. Have to like the fact that Nico Horner's up to 4 bombs, hitting at 300, and then since coming off the injured list, Seiya Suzuki, OIC with 5 home runs, hitting above a 300, but Michael Busch has still been a disappointment. Dansby Swanson has a 6 home runs, but he's hitting at just a 210 or so. You've had Matt Shaw be able to find a way on base, but Pete Armstrong continues to not necessarily give you a whole heck of a lot, and this is very much a pitcher-friendly ballpark. I think that that's going to suppress the nice offensive start that the Cubs have had. They've been a top 5 team in terms of run creation, and for the Padres, it's been a power outage for Fernando Tatis Jr. 0 home runs going into yesterday through the first 28 games of the season. Your main power hitters have been Gavin Sheets, Xander Bogaerts, Ramon Laureano, all hitting 4 home runs apiece, and Bogaerts hitting above a 280. That's been nice. Ty France, it's been a small sample size for him, but 3 home runs in his first 40 at-bats, hitting darn near 300. That's been solid. Luis Campusano at the catcher spot. He's been able to do a nice job. If you take out the Mexico City series, the Padres have a sub-3.35 ERA with that excluded. Now, obviously, they had a little bit of a screw job on Monday with a ball that should have been called foul that was called fair on Mason Miller, so that hurt him. But Jason Adam, over the last 2 seasons, has a sub-250 ERA. Jeremiah Estrada being on the injury list to start the season. And Andre Morjon has not been himself this far this season, but he last year was able to spy a sub-350 ERA. I do think that he's going to round into form. And for the Cubs, this has been a team that's been in the top half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You do have to have a little bit of fear of the injuries. Daniel Plencia, Caleb Thielbar, Porter Hodge, Riley Martin, Hunter Harvey. Like, you just go down the list. Jacob Webb, though, he had a sub-325 ERA last year with the Rangers. Hobie Milner, Phil Matone, you're banking on these guys. That's not necessarily a place where you want to be. So even though I do think that Taillon is a better starter, I do think that for the Padres, they should be the slimmest of slim favorites here at a minus 102. Like I said, I am just going to be riding with whatever team becomes plus money. So that's how I'm looking at this one. That'll be settled overnight. And then with regards to total, in on the under, sub I told at an 8.3. 905, 906 on the card. It is the Phillies, and they're going to be playing host to the San Francisco Giants. As for the Giants, it's one Mr. Logan Webb, and Christopher Sanchez goes for the Phillies. The Phillies find themselves anywhere between minus 140 to minus 150 favorites. Between plus 118 to plus 125 is that number on San Francisco. Mostly seeing 7s with the total with the over, and between minus 105 to a minus 115. Same goes for the under. Seeing a few straight 6.5s. That over is minus 135. The under is minus 115. And I do like the over in this spot. I just took a 7. I'm not going to mess around with the minus 135 juice. I set my total here at a 7.7. Logan Webb throughout his career has always had an ERA that's darn near a point higher on the road rather than at home. And it doesn't matter if it's been at home or away from home. Logan Webb is just off to a little bit of a shaky start this season. Right now, his ERA right in that neighborhood, about a 4.84. He's been a little bit unlucky if you look at the fielding independent numbers, but 3.2 walks per 9 innings, down below 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. That walk rate is the highest it's been since 2020. And then for Christopher Sanchez, he's been one of the lone bright spots right now for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's getting 11.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.92 ERA. He's keeping the ball in the yard. He does give up a few walks, but all in all, he's been able to do a pretty incredible job. Backed up by a bullpen that is 18th in the big leagues, though, in terms of bullpen ERA, and that bullpen is now without their closer in Yohan Duran. Jose Alvarado, ever since the drug suspension last year, this guy has been absolutely miserable for the Phillies. Tanner Banks has been able to give you some relatively solid innings, and now they're getting Jonathan Bolin off the injured list. Brad Keller had a career year last year with the Cubs. Hasn't been awful, hasn't been great, like a 3.86 ERA this far this season. I don't know if he can quite duplicate what he did last season with the Cubs, but he also doesn't look like that guy that was posting up a north of 5 ERA for the longest of time as well. And then when you take a look at this Phillies lineup, right now they're a bottom 5 team in terms of run creation. Last year they were averaging 5.3 runs per game at home. That was a top 3 mark in all of baseball. I do think that we're going to see some positive regression with regards to these guys as going into the day on Tuesday. Kyle Schwarber, 9 home runs, once again not hitting for any average with like a .196 average, but still 345 on base. Bryce Harper has a 345 on base with 6 home runs. Brandon Marsh has been solid, hitting darn near 300. He's playing 4 home runs. It's really been a lot of these infielders that have not stepped up, with the likes of Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, Trey Turner, all in get 230 or lower. You're going to need to get more out of these guys. And for the Giants, this has also been a team that's been in the bottom 5 in terms of run creation themselves. Jungle Lee is actually doing a great job in terms of reaching base, and like the overall batting averages for these guys are not necessarily the world's worst. They just don't have a lot of power. Casey Schmidt right now about a 340 on base with 4 home runs. He's leading the way. Luis Arias is right now hitting 3rd. That's not a place where you want to be. He's hitting above a 300, but he has no power. Matt Chapman, he's giving you about a 350 on base, so hasn't been bad there, but just 1 home run thus far this season. Eloy Ramos is hitting at 270, and William Thomas is right now giving you a 242 on base. That's not great. Now it is a Giants bullpen that going into the day on Tuesday was a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA. They've actually had some really nice finds. Caleb Killian has been able to give you a sub-1 ERA thus far. You've gotten good innings out of the likes of Blade Tidwell. Keaton Wynn, as a long guy, is able to give you a sub-3 ERA after a little bit of a shaky season last year. Ryan Walker has looked a little bit better, but do think that the Phillies get online with their bats. I'm willing to lay the money line here. Set them at a minus 148, and do like the over. Semi-total 7.7, 907, 908 on the card. The Rockies are going to be on the road against the Reds. And yes, we're on to Cincinnati, who's on to Brandon Williamson getting the start for them, and Tomoyuki Sugano is on the bump for Colorado. Right now, the total is 9.5. Unders minus 120. The over is even between minus 145. Now, minus 148 is that number on the Reds. Plus 120. The plus 126 is that number on the Rockies. And I did set my total at 8.3. I do like the under. I recognize that for Brandon Williamson, this has not been a great start to the season, to say the least for him. He missed pretty much all of last season due to an injury. And right now, for Williamson, 5.40 ERA, 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. But you just have to look at the fact that the Colorado Rockies, they just never hit away from home. Last year, 2.8 runs per game away from home, dead last in the big leagues, entered in the day on Tuesday, 27th with about 3.5 runs per game. And for this Colorado Rockies lineup, it's better than it was last season. Mickey Moniak had very demonstrative home and road splits. He looks to be a little bit better this year. 6+ home runs, give you about a 350 on base. Edouard Julien has been able to hit above a 300 long. Troy Johnson, TJ Romfield has been able to find a way on base with about a 340 on base, but Ezekiel Tovar, Kyle Karros at the bottom of the lineup, hitting below 200. You need a little bit more there, and there's really not a lot of power on this lineup, though. Hunter Goodman, he did have 25+ home runs last season. For the Reds, it's a very all-or-nothing lineup. The middle of the lineup has been great. Ellie De La Cruz, Cousins, Sal Stewart, both of these guys have been able to give you 7+ home runs, over 350 on base, and Eugenio Suarez is coming off of 49 home runs last season. I know that he's been a little bit banged up and out of the lineup last few days, but it's really these bottom guys like Reese Hines, Cabrian Hayes, Tyler Stevenson, TJ Friedel, who are hitting below 200. You need a bit more there. Spencer Steer, he's right now steering things back online. He's up to 5 home runs. He's been able to get hot recently, and what really benefits the Reds, and it's a big reason why I'm not as concerned about the struggles of Brandon Williamson right now, this bullpen has been great. Going into Tuesday, second in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Know that Tony Santillan had a little bit of shakiness over the weekend, but he and Graham Ashcraft, sub-3 ERAs. Pierce Johnson, Brock and Rolberg, they both had sub-350 ERAs at their respective stops last season. Johnson right now 375, Brock and Rolberg a sub-1 ERA. Don't really trust Emilio Pagan at the closer spot, but all in all, it's a good bullpen. And for the Rockies, they're actually in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA as well. Brandon Bernardino was a really nice add for them. Juan Mejia, Jaden Nill, Victor Vodnik, Jimmy Harrigan, they all had a sub-4 ERA last season. Now, Vodnik completely blew that game against the Padres a week ago. He's been off to a little bit of a shaky start, but overall, I do like both of these bullpens. I do think that it's going to be more than enough for the under, so I might tell it at 8.3. The Reds really have not produced a lot of runs at home thus far this season. As a matter of fact, for the Reds, they currently do find find themselves overall 19th in terms of run creation with only about 4.2 runs per game at home. They're actually scoring a little bit more away from home. Do think that they should be able to get to Sagano, though. If you look at the raw ERA of a 3.42, it's relatively respectable, but 4.84 fielding dependent, 1.7 home runs, 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. I do think that he gets hit here. So with the Reds, I'm going to be willing to take the money line here, set them at a minus 189 as a matter of fact. I like the under, so my total ended 8.3. 909, 910 on the card. It's the Cardinals. They're going to be on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Bubba Chandler's on the bump for the Pirates. Andre 3000 Palante goes for St. Louis. St. Louis is a underdog of between plus 120 to plus 130, minus 142 to minus 156. That number on Pittsburgh, 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 115 to minus 120. The under is anywhere between even a minus 105, and with the Pirates, I set them at a minus 162. So I'm going to be willing to lay the money line with them. You got a guy in Palante who he just hopes and prays to not give up home runs. He's not a guy that has great command. He doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. As a matter of fact, you take a look at things this year, 7.1 strikeouts per 9 innings is on pace to be a career high, but he's also given up 5 walks per 9 innings, 4.26 ERA, 4.98 fielding dependent. Last year, 6.1 strikeouts to 3.4 walks per 9 innings, so he's got his issues there. And then on the flip side, you've got a guy in Bubba Chandler who he's got a career 4.39 ERA, but the 3.96 fielding dependent with 8.5 strikeouts and 1 home run allowed per 9 innings very much points towards positivity. What else has been positive? The Pirates being able to get online with their offense. Last year, dead sinking last with about 3.6 runs per game. Entered into the day on Tuesday with 4.7 runs per game, and that goes up to about 5.3 runs per game at home. I don't know if this is going to be a mainstay. You've had Oneil Cruz, who was hitting right around the Mendoza line of a 200 last season, really be able to find it, 7+ home runs. He's right now giving you closer to about a 320 on base. Brian Reynolds, he's moving line, giving you over 375 on base. Ryan O'Hearn was a very sneaky ad in the offseason, 400 on base, 5 home runs already, and then Nick Gonzalez has been able to 300. Now, you still have some guys at the bottom of the lineup, Colton Griffin, along with Henry Davis, and just the catcher spot in general, hitting below 220. And then on the flip side for the Cardinals, this has been a team that's been in the top half of the big leagues in terms of run creation themselves. How about the season that Jordan Walker's having 360 on base? He's up to 8 home runs. Now, some of the guys at the bottom of the lineup, like a Victor Scott hitting a 200, Nolan Gorman, he's giving you a 290 on base with not necessarily a ton of power. Did go deep yesterday for his 4th home run season. You could use a little bit more there, but even though J.J. Weatherholt only about a batting average of 240 and Ivan Herrera batting average right around about a 230, these guys are finding a way on. Over a 360 on base. Now, the issue that you've got with the Cardinals, this is an absolutely terrible bullpen. Right now, Jojo Romero's a guy that I liked. He had a sub-350 ERA last season, up to about a 395 this season. Riley O'Brien has been solid, but you've had Ryan Stanek post up an ERA above a 7. Matt Savanson has been rough. Chris Roycroft, he's right now not even with the team because he had such a rough start to the season. George Soriano just has never been good, so that's a bit of a problem. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates, while I don't necessarily trust in Gregory Soto at the closer spot, you've been able to get really good production out of Danny Santana, sub-275 ERA over the last 2 seasons. They used up Hunter Barco yesterday, so you don't have to worry about him. And then additionally, you've got Isaac Madsen, Yohan Ramirez, give you a sub-325 ERA. Justin Lawrence had a great year last year, has regressed a little bit this year, should be able to find it here, but did set my total at 7.9. I do think that we see some regression here with that Pirates offense, but I do think that Bubba Chandler is coming into his own, so I do like the under. And for the Pirates, I'm going to be willing to lay the money line. I set them at a minus 162. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It is the Washington Nationals. They are going to be on the road against the New York Mets. We do know that Cade Cavalli is going to be on the bump for the Nationals, and it's looking like one Mr. David Peterson makes his next start with the rotation. He is back in the starter's role for the Mets, and the Metropolitans between minus 164 to minus 170 favorites, plus 138 to plus 140. That number on the Nationals, 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 7.5. Over is minus 120. The under is even on the 8. The under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. I set my total at an 8.6. I do like the over. Now you look at David Peterson, the ERA is all sorts of awful. They had him in a little bit of a long relief role over the last 2 appearances, and in the long relief role, combined 7 innings across his 2 appearances. He only gave up 1 run. He was actually relatively solid there, but he's doing for a lot of positivity. 5.06 ERA thus far this season, 3.77 fielding dependent, and right now he's on track for the 3rd straight season in which he's given up fewer than 0.75 home runs per 9 innings, 3.5 walks per 9, not necessarily amazing, but I do think that he's pitched better than what the raw ERA would indicate. Meanwhile, you've got a guy in Cade Cavalli. I think that he's got some serious upside, but with Cade Cavalli, he also has some serious control issues as well. Right now, he's posting up a 4.01 ERA, 2.80 fielding dependent, 10.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, has yet to give up a home run this far this season, but the 4.4 walks per 9 innings, that does need to be a little bit of a concern. What else is a concern is that the New York Mets, man, the offense going into yesterday, they were a bottom 3 team in terms of run creation. The good news is Zach Littell was able to get them woken up, and boy, Zach Littell is absolutely terrible, but That said, you've not gotten a ton out of Bo Bichette thus far this season. Finally went deep for a second home run this season yesterday, but still below a 300 on base. Getting back Juan Soto should help. He was able to go deep yesterday. He's got a 400 on base. You've had MJ Melendez actually be able to step up. He was a disappointment with the Royals over the last few seasons, but he's been hitting above a 250. Marcus Semien, I don't know what to expect there. He was never good with the Rangers. Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, Carson Benjay, all these guys are giving you a sub 295 on base. And for the Washington Nationals, it's all gas but no brakes. They're right now a top 4 team in terms of run creation, and they're second worst in terms of team ERA. So it's been very interesting to look at there. James Wood along with CJ Abrams are the guys that really steer things on offense. Abrams entered in the day yesterday with 7 home runs, giving you about a 375 on base. James Wood, he has been giving you good wood, 400 on base, 10 home runs. That's been amazing. And the rest of the guys, they don't necessarily hit for a ton of power, but Dallin Lyles sitting at 275. You've got a young infielder in Joe Bear Vivas, who's been with above a 275. You need a little bit more out of some of these guys like a Nasim Nunez, but still, the lineup has been fine. Nationals bullpen is just not great, to say the least. So Clayton Beater's now on the injury list. That's not a bad thing for them. Ciano Perez over a 4 ERA last season. Paxton Schultz is right now giving you a 4 ERA. Cole Henry is now on the injury list. BJ Poulin has honestly been okay over the last few seasons, but even he's been a little bit shaky. And for the New York Mets, it does feel like they're starting to find it a little bit more in the bullpen. Luke Weaver and Devin Williams do need to live up their contracts, but still, Oscar Brizovin, Brooks Raley, these are two guys that are posting up a sub 250 ERA. Last year, they both had a sub 3 ERA, so I do think that this is a good opportunity for the Mets to get online, and I do think that the bats start to find it just a little bit more. I did set my total at 8.6, like the over. With the Mets, I set them at a minus 173 on the money line. If you're looking to lay run half, that's as high as a plus 135 right now. Anything of a plus 115 or better, we'll look at that run line to go along with the over. 9-13, 9-14 on the card. The Diamondbacks are on the road against the Brewers. Brandon Sproat is on the bump for the Brewers, and Eduardo Rodriguez goes for Arizona. Arizona is between minus 102 to even money. Meanwhile, minus 115 to minus 120. That number on the Brewers, 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is between minus 105 to a minus 110. And with the Brewers, I set them at just a minus 104 on the money line. If you're looking to lay a run F with them, I'm seeing as high as a plus 185 to a plus 190. I would need at least a plus 105 to take a shot on the Diamondbacks, and I do think that once those timelines come out, I do think that I'm going to get a plus 105. So in some form or fashion, I do think that when it's all said and done, I'm going to be in on the Arizona Diamondbacks on the money line. It's just hard to trust in Brandon Sproat right now because he has posted up an ERA that is well above a 550, and you just take a look at the underlying numbers. He's giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings. His walks per 9 rate is a 5.2, 599 fielding independent with that 6.45 ERA. It's just rough. Now, Eduardo Rodriguez has gotten off to a nice start with a 2.89 ERA, but the fielding independent is right now in that neighborhood about a 4.99, 1.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 3.9 walks, career low 5.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. And for the Brewers, they're tied with the Arizona Diamondbacks at 8th in the league in terms of run creation. That was coming into Tuesday. Both teams averaging 4.89 runs per game. And while the Arizona Diamondbacks are dealing with some injuries, you still have Corbin Carroll, who's been able to give you about a 300 average, some functional power, and he does a great job being able to find a way on 390 on base. Lourdes Gurriel has spent a lot of time on the injured list. Ever since he's come back, he has not been effective. I think that with more at-bats, he's going to be able to find it a little bit more. Ilearmo Vargas has really been the surprise for the team. He's hitting well above a 345 right now. Jose Fernandez is sitting above a 300. While they haven't had the power that they've had in the past, they've still been able to find a way, even with Ketel Marte below a 300 on base. So he has been able to give you 4 home runs thus far. And for the Brewers, it's been a lot of mix and match thus far, as you've got Garrett Mitchell who's been able to give you darn near a 4 on base. Gary Sanchez has been able to supply 5 home runs thus far. You weren't expecting him to be able to give you a whole heck of a lot. Jake Bowers, he's also up to 5 bombs. William Contreras, you know what to expect out of him. 340 on base. Bryce Rang is moving the line, give you about a 400 on base. One of the best base stealers in all baseball. And Brandon Lockridge has been solid as well for the Diamondbacks. Bullpen is still very shaky. Paul Sewald has actually been off to a nice start to the season along with Juan Murillo, but it's hard to trust in someone like Kevin Ginkel. Ryan Thompson has been very shaky to begin the season, and for the Brewers, they've just not gotten anything out of Trevor McGill right now, posting up well above a 6 ERA. Aaron Ashby, Ebner Uribe, Grant Anderson, all these guys gave you a sub 350 ERA last season. And while Uribe is up a little bit with that ERA, I do think that he's going to be able to find it a little bit more. So I did have to set the Brewers as a very slight favorites. But again, I think that Sproat is really going to be giving it up. And when it's all said and done, I do anticipate a little bit of plus money here on the Diamondbacks. So at a plus 105 or better, going to be looking at the Diamondbacks on the money line. So my money line price with the Brewers at a minus 104. And I do like the over. I set my total at a 9.1. 9.15, 9.16 on the card. It's the White Sox Sox, and they're going to be playing us to the LA Angels. Yusei Kikuchi, I say that he's starting for the Angels, and Eric Fetty Wap is on the bump for the White Sox. White Sox do find themselves as a slim home underdog here, as you're going to be grabbing them anywhere between even money, seeing as good as a plus 108 out there as well. Between minus 120 to minus 130 is the number on the Halos. 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110, and I'm going to be willing to lay with the Angels. I did set them at a minus 137. Now, if you look at the raw numbers for Yusei Kikuchi, certainly not great to begin the season. He's got an ERA that is a 6.21, but the 372 fielding dependent, 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings with 9.9 strikeouts per 9. That does very much point towards positivity. Does need to work on the command. He's been giving up 4 walks per 9 innings, and that's been a little bit of an issue for Kikuchi throughout his career, but he also now gets to go up against a White Sox team that is very much all or nothing. You've had Mutaka Murakami give you 11 plus home runs this far this season. It has been ridiculous what we've seen out of him, but it's a White Sox team that is in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of batting average. Like Edgar Quiero last year, he was absolutely incredible. He was sitting above a 270. He and Luanel Acuna are both hitting below a 200, as a matter of fact, below a 185. Andrew Benintendi, 255 on base without a lot of power. Miguel Vargas barely hitting above the middle line of 200. Everson Pierre has been able to give you something, 3 home runs, hitting about a 250, and then Colson Montgomery has given you the boom with 7 home runs, but he entered in the day yesterday hitting about a 225, and for the Angels, last year they were very much at all or nothing team. They've worked on that a little bit. Mike Trout, he's been amazing. He's been able to hit all those home runs away from home, over a 400 on base. You still have a little bit of all or nothing with this team, and now you're dealing with Logan O'Hoppe being on the injury list. I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. Sebastian Rivero should be seeing some more at-bats. I think that it'll move the line better than O'Hoppe, who had a 260 on base last season. You have Yoel Moncada hitting below the middle line of 200. More of a 337 on base, so he's finding a way on. Zach Neto has been able to give you 5 home runs thus far, and the Angels bullpen is absolutely terrible. Entered into the day yesterday, second worst in terms of bullpen ERA. Ryan Zephyrion is posting up well above a 5 ERA. Drew Pomeranz has been terrible. Now, Chase Silseth has found a home in this bullpen. Sub 4 ERA, he's actually been okay along Sam Bachman, but it's really hard to find trustworthy relievers in this bullpen. But the same goes for the Chicago White Sox, who have Sir Anthony Dominguez as their closer. That's about all that needs to be said there. Chris Murphy, I would argue, is their best reliever. He's on the injured list. Sean Newcomb has posted up like a 4.32 ERA, and Grant Taylor has actually been really good as an opener, but Jordan Leisure has given up a ton of runs. Jordan Nix is absolutely washed. Both of these teams are absolutely terrible with their bullpens, and for Eric Fetty, he's going to see some regression in my opinion. Last season, he was posting up an ERA above a 5. He was only getting about 5.5 strikeouts to 4 or so walks per 9 innings, and for Fetty, it's been a little bit better for him thus far this season, but I'm still not buying into it. Right now, he's got a 3.42 ERA, but the fielding independent is a 4.88, as he's once again getting about 5.5 strikeouts to 3.8 walks per 9 innings. I do think that the Angels, who they entered in the day yesterday, third in the big leagues in terms of road run creation, with in that neighborhood of about 5.8 runs per game, I think that they get to him to get the job done. So I told it at 8.8, like the over, and for the Angels, we'll lay up to a minus 136 on the money line. 917, 918 on the card. The Rays are going to be on the road facing off against the Cleveland Guardians. Kevin Williams goes for Cleveland, and Drew Rasmussen is on the bump for the Tampa Bay Rays. Totals between 6.5 to 7 on the 6.5. Overs minus 115 to minus 120. The unders between even to minus 105 on the 7. The unders minus 115 to minus 120. Overs between even to minus 105, and Guardians slim favorites here of minus 118 to a minus 123. Anywhere between even money to plus 105 is where you're finding the Tampa Bay Rays, and with the Guardians, I set them at a minus 116. Right now, I'm seeing as low as a minus 118, but when we get the dime lines out, I think that I should be able to get down to a minus 115, so going to be willing to lay up to a minus 115 on the money line. If you're looking at laying a run half with them, you're actually getting that over plus $2. If worse comes to worse, I would take a run line, but I'm very much prioritizing the money line, which I think at some point I should be able to get. I do think that both of these pitchers are very rock solid. For Drew Rasmussen, he's been able to post up a sub 3 ERA. For Gavin Williams, it's a hair above a 3 ERA, but still he's getting 11.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. But you look at the fielding independent of both of these guys, both are doing for some regression. With Williams, 1.5 home runs, 4.8 walks per 9 innings, so with his 3.28 ERA, 4.45 fielding dependent. Rasmussen with his 2.45 ERA, 4.10 fielding dependent, because he's giving up 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. Now Rasmussen is only giving up 1.4 walks per 9 innings, but he's also backed up by a bullpen that is 26th in the big leagues with a 5.16 ERA. They just have not been able to figure it out. Griffin Jacks, I mean, as an opener, he's actually been solid. The bullpen, he has been absolutely terrible, and Ian Seymour probably should be a starter right now. I just have no idea why they're trotting him out there in the bullpen, but it is what it is with regards to that ordeal. For the Rays, you do have Cole Sulser, Brian Baker, the former Orioles, who have actually been able to do a pretty solid job in this bullpen, so I like what these guys have been able to provide. And for the Cleveland Guardians, they scored as many runs as myself yesterday, and Nick Martinez started. That's not a place where you want to be. Stephen Kwan not getting it done at the leadoff spot. As a matter of fact, he and Jose Ramirez both hitting about a 220. Now for Ramirez, closer to 343 on base. He's been able to provide a lot more power. And Daniel Schneemann has been one of your better hitters thus far. He's right now hitting above 300 with some functional power. Ano Martinez, same goes for him as well. But Rhys Hoskins, Bo Naylor, Valera, one of the main pinch hitters for the team, Kyle Manzardo, all these guys hitting at 220 or lower. It's been rough for them. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, this team is in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Now, they're probably going to be without Junior Caminero. I know that he had to leave yesterday with a little bit of an ailment, and he had 44 home runs last season, but Chandler Simpson, one of the best base heroes in all baseball, sitting about a 300. Yandy Diaz over a 400 base. He's been able to give you some solid power. Drake Fraley, after a rough last few seasons, he's been hitting at 250 plus. Nick Fortes is hitting at 275. Johnny DeLuca is finding a way to be able to move the line. I just still have some trepidation with that bullpen, and for the Guardians, it's been rough for them hitting with Ben in scoring position, and their bullpen has taken a little bit of a dive as well. Typically, this is a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA, and right now, they are right around about 21st. Connor Brogdon over a 5 ERA. Cade Smith has not been solid at the closer's role. Now, Tim Aaron has actually been really good as he had to give up an earned run this far this season. Hunter Gaddis has been a little bit shaky since coming off the injury list, but do think that he's going to be able to find it when it's all said and done. So, with the Guardians, willing to lay up to a minus 115 on the money line, and do like this over. Semi-total 7.6, 919, 920 on the card. It's the Mariners. They're going to be on the road against the Minnesota Twins. Taj Juncal, Milton Bradley is on the bump for the Twins. George Kirby is on the bump for Seattle. Seattle does find themselves as favorites between minus 125 to minus 132, plus 105 to plus 112 is that number on Minnesota. 8 is the total. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. Seeing a few straight 7.5, that over is minus 120, and the under is even. And I did semi-total at 7.7. Personally, I'd rather have an 8 under rather than a 7.5 to the over. Recognize that it's not the world's worst conditions right now in Minnesota, but certainly it's still not necessarily like smoldering hot or anything like that. And I just really like what I've seen of Taj Bradley. I do recognize that the fielding independent is nearly a point higher than the 291 ERA. He's given up 1.1 home runs per 9 innings and a hair over 2.5 walks per 9 innings, but still 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. Gets a face-off against the Mariners lineup that last year they were averaging about 5.1 runs per game away from home. They've just been a shell of themselves this season, though. They're only getting about 3.3 runs per game away from home. You just don't know when these guys are going to be able to bust out of it. Now, big jumper Cal Raleigh, he's back up to 6 home runs this season, but he's not finding a way on base. He's hitting for less than a 300 on base. J.P. Crawford, he does have a 344 on base, but he's hitting below the Bedos line of 200. Josh Naylor below a 300 on base. Julio Rodriguez, just 2 home runs this far this season, so we've got a lot of slow starters on this roster, like Luke Raley, Dom Canzone have been 2 of your better hitters thus far, with Raley 5+ home runs and both guys hitting above a 260. Meanwhile, for the Minnesota Twins, after a really bad start to the season, Byron Buxton has found it once again. 7 home runs, he's back hitting above a 235, so that's been huge. You've actually been able to get some really good production out of Austin Martin. He's had like a 500 on base as I'm doing this. That'll certainly go downward, but he's been a nice find. But then you have like the Victor Caratini, Lucas Shaw, Royce Lewis hitting below 225, and Lewis just has not been himself last 2 seasons. Cody Clemens, Matt Wallner, both hitting below the Bedos line of 200. They both give you functional power, both with 20+ home runs last season, but you just need a little bit more with regards to the average, and this is a Twins bullpen that no doubt about it is rough. Anthony Vanda is right now posting up an ERA above a 7. Taylor Rogers looks to be a little bit cooked, but Cody Funderburk coming off the paternity list, he's actually been good with a sub-2 ERA. They can build around him. Eric Gorze last year had a sub-325 ERA with the Tampa Bay Rays. And on the other end, Andres Munoz has been really shaky at the closer spot for the Seattle Mariners. Rest of the bullpen has been good. You've got someone like a Gabe Spire, Edward Bazardo. Both of these guys had a sub-3 ERA last season. Jose Ferreira has been really good in this bullpen. Matt Brash continues to be nails as well. But for George Kirby, he's always had some demonstrative home and road splits. 3.05 career ERA when he's been at home, with about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings allowed, closer to about 1.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings, with a 4.05 ERA away from home. And for Kirby this far this season, the strikeout stuff has been way down, with only about 6.5 or so strikeouts per 9 innings, 297 ERA, but a 382 field independent. Do think that the Twins get to him here. With the Twins, I set them as minus 113 favorites, so I like the Twins getting plus money on the money line. I do like that 8 under. Semi-total 7.7, 921, 922 on the card. It's the Yankees. They're going to be on the road against the Rangers. Nathan Eovaldi is on the bump for the Rangers, and it's the MLB debut of El Elmer Rodriguez. And when it comes to the Yankees, they are currently slim favorites at most spots, right around about a -110 to a -120. -106 to even money is that number on the Rangers. 8.5 is the total. Over is -110 to a -115. Under is -105 to a -110. And with the Rangers, I did set them here at a -111. So being able to get even money or better, I'm going to be in on that money line. Now, I actually think that Rodriguez is going to be really good moving forward. He pitched in the World Baseball Classic for, I believe it was Puerto Rico. Don't quote me on the country, but I know that we saw him in the World Baseball Classic. He had that one start, and he looked very good in that one start. He, at the AAA level last year, was absolutely tearing it up. 2.58 ERA, pitched across a lot of different levels. 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now, he does have some command issues with about 3.5 walks per 9 innings, and I just like to fade guys in their MLB debut. The nerves really get to them, and they just aren't themselves. I want to see them being able to just settle in a start or two, and especially with going up against a seasoned veteran in Evaldi. He's had a rough start to the season thus far, no question about it. 5.79 ERA, 5.67 fielding, depending with giving up 2.5 home runs per 9 innings. The strikeout stuff really hasn't dipped, though. 8.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. It's not like he's seeing his velocity just going down the toilet bowl or anything like that. Now, obviously, for the New York Yankees, this has been a very great lineup. Even though Aaron Judge is down a little bit with his on-base percentage, he's been able to give you 9+ home runs thus far this season. Ben Rice has been able to give you 8+ bombs. He's finding a way on with darn near 400 on base. They just bring up Yasan Dominguez. That should help out because a lot of these infielders like Ryan McMahon, Jazz Chisholm, throw in there the entirety of the catcher spot, hitting below 225. That's been a little bit rough for this team, and Trent Grisham has just been a nightmare this season. But on the flip side, you do have a Rangers team that, even though there's not a lot of power with this team, you're finding guys that are able to move the line. Don't call his name. Alejandro Ozuna has been hitting well above a threer. Brandon Nimmo has been able to give you 350 on base. He's been much better than Marcus Semien would have been. You've got Josh Young hitting about a threer. You just need more out of some of these guys like a Wyatt Langford who's been dealing with injury. Evan Carter's been hitting right around the middle of line 200. You do have Corey Seager who's giving you 5 home runs along Jake Berger, but neither of these guys hitting above a 235. But what the Rangers have is an amazing bullpen. Depending upon the day that you've been looking this week, they've either been number 1 or number 2 in terms of bullpen ERA. Tyler Alexander, Jalen Beeks may not have the world's greatest career ERAs, but they're both able to fill innings. That's big because Robert Garcia, Chris Martin are on the injury list, but Jacob Junis, he had a sub-3 ERA last season with the Guardians. He's been solid. Cole Winn had a sub-2 ERA last season. And for the Yankees, they're a little bit above league average with regards to bullpen ERA. Like Camilo Duvall along David Benner, they picked up at the trade deadline. They're solid. They're not amazing. Tim Hill, Fernando Cruz, Brent Hedrick all last year had a sub-355 ERA. So these guys are pretty solid. But for Elmer Rodriguez, he's not a guy that I think is going to be able to lend a ton of length. So I do think that the Yankees are going to have to dive into that bullpen a little bit. I think that the Rangers, as a result, get the job done. Rangers ballpark, by the way, very pitcher friendly. So I set my total at 8.2, like the 8.5 to the under. And I do like the Rangers at even money or better on the money line. 923, 924 on the card. It's the Red Sox. They are going to be on the road against the Toronto Blue Jays. We do know that Brian Bayo is going to be on the bump for the Red Sox. It's all to be determined who's on the bump for Toronto. This is a game that is presently off the board. If you're looking through the grapevine right now, a lot of places are projecting that Eric Lauer is going to be pitching in some form of capacity, whether that be as a main starter or as a bulk guy, and whether he's a starter or a bulk guy. I've set this where I set the Red Sox at a -116 on the money line, willing to lay up to -115 with them, plus 117 or better, looking at the Jays, and then set a 12 and 8.7, 8.5 or less, like the over, a 9 or higher to the under. I don't necessarily love the fact that Alex Cora got canned from the job with the Boston Red Sox, but still, the team has responded thus far. Again, I still keep going back to it. I think that they knew prior to that game on Saturday when they had the 17-run outburst, recognized that yesterday was a little bit less than savory for them, but I do think that a Red Sox team that was 6th in the league in terms of run creation last year, that they're going to be able to find it a little bit more. You do have the likes of Trevor Story, Jaron Duran, Caleb Durbin, all below the middle sign of 200, but Masataka Yoshida has done a nice job giving you over a 375 on base. Roman Anthony's not hitting for average, but he is giving you about a 350 on base. Weiler Abreu, 300 average. He's been able to give you 4+ home runs. Wilson Contreras, 6+ bombs, 375 on base. I do think that there's upside here, and for the Red Sox, it's a bullpen that last year, they were number 2 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. I don't know if they're going to quite be number 2, but you saw Aroldis Chapman, who's a top 3 closer in all of baseball. Greg Weiser, Danny Kalum, Garrett Whitlock, they all supplied a sub-325 ERA last season, and for the Toronto Blue Jays, it does feel like they're starting to find it with the bullpen a little bit. Mason Fluharty has been pitching a little bit better recently. They moved Jeff Hoffman out of the closer's role, and both guys got used up yesterday, so you're getting more trustworthy guys. Tyler Rogers, Braden Fisher, Louis Varland have all been able to supply a sub-3 ERA this far this season. Really don't have a lot of faith in Tommy Nance, but I think those guys have been able to do a nice job. For the Blue Jays, the issue has been the offense, because Edison Barger, George Springer, Oleander Kirk, don't call his name, they've all been on the injured list, so you're not going to be calling the name of Oleander Kirk anytime soon. But Kazuma Okamoto, after a rough start to the season, he's now giving you 5 home runs, not a lot of average, but they've needed the power, because someone like an AC Sanchez has been hitting above a 250. Andres Jimenez has been able to move the line. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is giving you 4 on base. These guys just really aren't giving you power. Like Ernie Clement is hitting right around about a 300. You just need the deep ball to be going a little bit more for these guys, and I do think that with Brian Bale, he's going to be able to hold his own because of his off-speed stuff, even though he pitches to a lot of contact. Last year, he was getting less than 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He does a nice job keeping the ball in the yard. Last year, he was giving up less than 1 home run per 9 innings, so it's been awful from this far this season. He is posting up a nice hearty 9 ERA. He's been the victim of a few unearned runs, so it's been all sorts of issues there. I do think that he's going to be able to rebound a little bit more. For Bale, he does need to work on the walks. He's giving up about 5 walks per 9 innings, but he's been really unlucky on balls in play, and I do think that supporting bullpen is going to be all up about. And for Eric Lauer, last season he was able to have a career renaissance. Now it looks like he's having a career toilet bowl as this season for Eric Lauer. Nice already 6.75 ERA with a 6.48 fielding independent, 2.4 home runs, 4.8 walks allowed per 9 innings after last year, just 2.2 walks and 8.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. So with the Red Sox, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 115 with them, plus 117 or better. Looking at the Jays, 8.5 or less, like the over 9 or higher to the under. 925, 926 on the card. The Astros are on the road. They're against the Orioles, as you've got Chris Bassett taking hook, line, and sinker for the O's, and Peter Lambert is on the bump for Houston. Houston is between even money to plus 110 underdogs, minus 120 to minus 125. That number on Baltimore 9 is the total. Under is minus 115 to minus 120. The over is between even and minus 105, and I made the Astros a minus 109 favorite. I like them on the money line. This might be one of the few times all season long that the Astros have the pitching advantage, because the pitching for this team is terrible. The overall team ERA going into yesterday was a 5.97. No other team had above a 5.23, and the 5.23 did belong to the Washington Nationals for the record. But for Peter Lambert, he's been one of the lone bright signs for this team. He's made 2 starts thus far in 11 innings. He's gotten 16 strikeouts, 3.27 ERA, 186 fielding independent. I recognize that he wasn't great with the Rockies, but the Rockies have just really killed arms and pitching at elevation for your entire career. That's an issue. And Chris Bassett right now has more walks than strikeouts. 5.5 walks to 4.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. A nice hearty 6.75 ERA. And now he faces off against an Astros team. Well, they've got no pitching whatsoever. They are in the bottom 5 in terms of bullpen ERA. Aniel De Los Santos has been absolutely terrible. Ryan Wise has over a 6 ERA. AJ Bluebaugh has been terrible. Josh Hader's on the injured list. Bennett Sosa is over a 10 ERA. The list goes on and on. This team is able to slug the ball out. You've got Carlos Correa with over a 360 on base. Recognize that Jeremy Pena's on the injured list, but after disappointing last year, Christian Walker's been living up to that contract. 7 home runs, over a 360 on base. Jose Altuve continues to give you a 350 on base. Yordan Alvarez has been on absolute fire. 11 home runs, over a 440 on base. And then on the flip side for the Orioles, while you do have Gunnar Henderson hitting for a lot of power, just a 286 on base to go along with his 9 home runs. Now they've had Leody Taveras have a really nice start to the season, but he was always inconsistent with the Rangers. Have my question marks there. You have the young guys like a Kobe Mayo, Blaze Alexander, Samuel Basayo, falling below the Mendoza line of 200. Aside from Basayo's actually gotten it going over the last few days, so I have to give him that. And Pete Alonso was able to go deep yesterday, but still, 4 home runs and less than a 300 on base. That's not what they're paying this guy for. Jeremiah Jackson has been great, 5 home runs over the last 3 weeks, so that's been solid. And the Orioles certainly have the leg up in terms of the bullpen. Yanier Canoa's actually put together a nice season thus far. He's maybe not quite back to his peak where he was like 3 or so years ago, but sub 350 ERA. Anthony Nunez has been presentable. Ryan Helsley, I don't know if he's back to peak Ryan Helsley form, but he's been much better this year than he was with the Mets. Uncle Rico Garcia has been solid, but I just don't trust in Chris Bassett here. So I set the Astros at a minus 109. I'd like them at plus money on the money line. I did so by total 9.2, so I'm also in on this total over 927, 928 on the card. It's the Royals on the road against the Athletics. Luis Severino is on the bump for the Athletics. Michael Wacha, and if he has a bad start, it's the dying Pac-Man voice of Michael Wacha. Goes for the Royals. The Royals do find themselves anywhere between even money to plus 105. Meanwhile, minus 115 to minus 120 is that number on the Athletics. 9.5 to 10 is the total on the 9.5. Over is minus 120. Under is even on the 10. The under is between minus 110 to a minus 120. Over is between even to minus 110 with the Royals. I did set them at a plus 140, so I'm going to be willing to lay with the Athletics. Now for Luis Severino, man, the home and road splits have been very demonstrative ever since he got to Sacramento. Last year, about a 6 ERA when he was at home, about a 3 ERA away from home. He was giving up less than a half a home run per 9 innings. So, those are very, very real with him. And he has been giving up 6 walks per 9 innings as far this season. That's an ERA above a 5 for him because of those walks. So, that's been a little bit of a problem, but he is getting about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. We've been seeing an increase there. And on the flip side for Michael Wacha, 2.51 ERA, but closer to 3.62 fielding independent. Strikeout stuff is actually up this year. 7.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but now he has to pitch in Sacramento where, things just go absolutely harebrained in this ballpark, and he's backed up by a bullpen that's one of the worst in all of baseball. Right now for the Royals, entering in the day on Tuesday, 28th in the big leagues with a 5.75 ERA. I recognize that the Athletics aren't amazing with their bullpen, but they're actually 14th in terms of ERA. Like, you've got a lot of guys like Justin Sterner, Elvis Alvarado, Hogan Ayers. They give you about a 4 ERA. They are not amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but they're actually not totally terrible. And then when it comes to this Royals offense, it has been terrible. They're averaging 2.5 runs per game away from home. Playing in Sacramento should be able to help out with that a little bit, but man, Bobby Witt Jr., he's right now stuck on 1 home run thus far this season. He's moving line. He's giving you over a 350 on base, but you need a little bit more there. Carter Jensen has been your main home run guy for the team, as he's been great. He's been able to give you 6 home runs since the oversleep situation. He's been solid, but Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, both hitting for less than a 300 on base, both hitting below a $190 going into the series. A combined 7 home runs and over 200 at-bats for these two guys. You just need more there. Miguel Garcia, Jack Caglione are both hitting above a 260, and for Caglione, about a 340 or so on base. Isaac Collins has found a way to move the line, but just not a lot of power for the team. And then for the Athletics, Brent Rooker being off the injured list now, that should help them out. He had a really rough first few weeks of the season. I think that he's going to find it at some point. Shea Langeliers, well, Shea is banged for 8 home runs as far this season. For the Athletics, about 3.7 runs per game away from home, over 5 runs per game at home. So they clearly respond to this ballpark, and most teams do. Zach Loft, Tyler Soderstrom, Darnell Hernandez hitting below 225 towards the bottom lineup. You need a little bit more there. And even though Jeff McNeil's not hitting for a lot of power, he's been able to do a nice job finding a way online to be able to give you about a 275 batting average. So I do think that Severino is going to do a nice job against a Royals team that just frankly has not hit away from home. I've taken overs all season long in Sacramento. I just can't do it with this Royals lineup. So semi-total 9.3. I'm in on the under, and I'm willing to lay up to -140 on the Athletics money line. Wrap things up with 929, 930. The Tigers are going to be on the road against the Braves, as you've got J.R. Ritchie on the bump for the Bravos, and Tariq Skubal goes for the Tigers. Tigers are between -140 to -150 favorites. +120 to +130 is your number on Atlanta. 8 is the total. Over is -115. The under is -105. I'm willing to go up to -145 on the Tigers. Set them at a -146. For Tariq Skubal, even though the ERA is up a little bit, he's still in peak Tariq Skubal form, as right now he's got a 272 ERA, but 197 fielding independent. He's allowed just 1 home run in 36 and a third innings. The swing and miss stuff has been down a little bit, but he's also been able to do a great job with regards to his command. And on the flip side, Ritchie, a nice first start to his career. 2 runs allowed over the course of 7 innings. I recognize that both were solo home runs, so that's a little bit of an issue, but you look at what he did at the AAA level. I'm not going to make like this the end-all be-all, but sub-1 ERA in his 5 starts at Gwinnett this season, so I think that this guy has a chance to be a real deal. And for the Braves, even if you don't necessarily get the start that you're looking for out of him, they've been a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Tyler Kinley, since coming on over from the Rockies, has been able to give you a sub-250 ERA. You've had a lot of guys be able to rise up in this bullpen, like Dylan Lee has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Raciel Iglesias is on the injured list, but you've got Robert Suarez who's been able to come in and save the day. Now, Lee, it looks like it's going to be hitting the paternity list, so congratulations to him. But so you've got Aaron Bummer. He has been anything but a bummer for this team. Looks like they might be throwing out there Ronaldo Lopez is a little bit of a long guy as well. I'm not going to handicap that until I actually see him coming out of the bullpen, but Aaron Bummer has been relatively solid. And for the Braves, right now they are leading the league with about 5.7 runs per game. That was entering into Tuesday, so it might be passed up by the time this podcast hits. And they're doing it all with Ronald Acuna Jr. honestly not being great. He's had like 2 or 3 home runs. He's moving the line a little bit, but still, you expect a little bit more there. But Drake Baldwin, Michael Harris, Tom Smith, Mauricio Dubon, Matt Olson, Ozzy Albies, all these guys are hitting at 280 or better, and pretty much all these guys are giving you some relatively functional power as well. Austin Riley's off to a rough start to the season. He should pick it up. He was dealing with injury last season, and for the Tigers, it's been a hit or miss lineup. Kevin McGonigal is doing a great job finding a way on base. He and Cole Keith hitting above a 300. Javi Baez, he doesn't draw any walks, but he's hitting above a 250. The power's just been down, though. Like Riley Green, darn near 4 on base, but only 3 home runs this season. Spencer Torkelson's up to 5 home runs. After a slow start to the season with power, he's been able to pick it up. Gleyber Torres, he's finding way online, 390 on base. And for the Detroit Tigers, I do think that you're going to see some positivity with this bullpen, as well as you've got a trio of guys in Tyler Holm, Brian Herter, Will Vest, that all had a sub-350 ERA last season. And Vest has just been terrible, well above a 5 ERA this season. Tyler Holm has struggled. I do think that these guys see some positivity. Have Kenley Jansen as your closer. That's just absolutely awful, to say the least. But Kyle Finnegan says he got traded from the Washington Nationals. He's also been able to give the team a sub-3 ERA in a Tigers uniform. So, semi-total 7.3. I do like the under, and for the Tigers, 1 up to -145 on the money line. That'll wrap things up for the Wednesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larry CM, name does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Big thanks to William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network. You join me in the live segment, coming at you guys every single day with picks and analysis on every single game, every single day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.